give it just a second for Zoom and YouTube to catch up with each other. All right, so it is the SEC Growth Development Senior Leaders Staff Meeting. And for November 29th. Phil, it looks like you have the first. Was Phil on yet? Oh, looking at faces. Not yet. I think Phil's going to join in a minute. Somebody want to verbalize Phil's comment?
Sure, I'll take it. The next section performance indicator review is on the 1st. Let's aim to discuss the metrics we track in this meeting on 11/29, which is today. Here discussion below.
This is good stuff. Thanks, Phil, for bringing this up. As we wanted to. So let's discuss the outliers and any current unknowns where there might be outliers. So I'm going to go open up this doc. And let's see here. The intent is not to discuss everything, just the outliers. So, Thomas, I don't see yours in there yet.
I've not had an opportunity to do so with current events. I was budgeting for this to be next week's conversation rather than today's. I'm off my week. Apologize.
So let's discuss yours next week. Totally fine. This is the first time we're doing this. Let's discuss governs. Let's see here. Let's do security. It's not clear to me if any of these are outliers. Reading what Phil put in here. Investigating accuracy of the anti-abuse dashboard. Some issues related to budget. So let's push this topic to next meeting. Then Thomas, you'll have more time and we can discuss what's outliers versus not. Sound good? Good deal. You've got the next item. And totally fine to do this. Like I'm not unhappy that this is where we landed on this. This is not a rush to do this. It's sharpening the saw stuff. So Adil.
Yeah, I was going to ask, when we say outliers, I imagine, at least my understanding was we'll review anything that's infra-dev issue, past, etc. Is that a fair understanding? If so, I think Phil intended to add a few of those or the known ones there. Or was it, hey, it's been past due and it's been that way for 2 months, for example? So that's a bit about the previous topic. For the topic I had, so I'm looking for feedback from this group on how they felt pipeline stability to be across SEC groups for the past few milestones. So discussion I had with Phil recently as well, and interestingly, someone else brought it up on Slack like the day after. So I have a few thoughts around how we can action it, but I'd like to get a sample size on, is it truly a recurring problem? Is it a one-off? Have teams or engineers brought this up in other groups?
By coincidence, I saw another Slack thread about it. I'll post the thread here as well, but it was in Threat Insights. Same thing, just a lot of wasted developer time babysitting pipelines that are supposed to merge an MR, and you come back the next day to see that it hasn't merged. Sometimes for a few days, 3-4 days, and which is a huge waste, really. Something's ready to go and you got to wait another 3 days just because pipelines are failing. I can see how people are getting frustrated. The issue I posted there, I don't know if it's still the same cause, but that issue talks about exponential backoff for runners. So some of the failures were related to load management on Gitly. So when the runner tried to clone the repository, it was GitLab saying, please back off. And then we're just trying to, because all the builds were retrying one after the other, just creating a bit of a stampede, and they're trying to smooth that curve out a little bit.
Makes sense. Yeah, from anecdotal evidence, when I looked around, there's a few issues that are, temporary. For example, one you'll see was like, hey, we had incidents that actually caused us I'm not super worried about those because those are one-off. But things like flaky test or known issues that happen all the time, because they eventually engineers lose trust in saying, hey, is it a legitimate failure? Is it just failing because it felt like it? And my hope is that if this is actually a recurring issue, it means it's preventing us from our deliverables. So we should be able to pick some of these issues to action within our groups. Some of them may already be assigned to our groups, such as tests, or based on capacity, actually helping engineering productivity action some of the ones they already know. I've linked the epic that I think Phil shared that they're already working on. But this is my attempt to, I guess, get support and eventually had a KR to action this.
Thanks for bringing it up. I think it's the right thing to address this at our level now that we've seen there. First thing that I'd be curious about is doesn't have to be super deep analysis, but just to understand the different causes. So we addressing the right one first. It might not be the one that I shared, right? You just shared a different one.
Yeah, so I can take a to-do. My hope is in the next couple of days, weeks prior to Q1 starting, set up an OKR with a few KRs that looks at things that could be low-hanging fruit, because I know we have product deliverables as well, and with some information on if we do these, it's going to help improve our pipeline stability by 10%, 20%, whatever it is. And then we can adopt that as a section or as a stage going into Q1.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything within my own group about being impacted, but I understand that it's a matter of time, and I'm happy to contribute.
Thanks, Adil. I think this is a great idea. Wayne already has an engineering efficiency OKR. Put something under there, or at least have the discussion in there. We should leverage the engineering productivity team, or Dan Croft's team, which is that epic that we've shared above. Anything they're doing is great that they can help us for, but we might find specific things that are related to our merge requests that we can work on. Some of these might even relate to the OMRT discussion that we're having. We might find that the outliers, the things that take longer to merge, are actually the ones where the pipelines break. And it would be worth us putting some time in helping out engineering productivity with their epic, or to try and block ourselves if we can. I just ask that you create it under Wayne's OKR that he's already got, or his objective there around engineering efficiency. I'll support you with that, and we can work. I'll work with Thomas, and we'll see if we can get people across both stages contributing to whatever comes out of this.
That sounds good.
Thanks for bringing this up, Bill. Great thing to have us collaborate on. So item 3, please review the draft FY25 product roadmap from Sam and Sarah and their teams for your areas, and if inconsistent with your understanding from PM, please discuss with your PM counterparts. We want to make sure we're aligned. We probably are on most, if not everything, but it's worth doing a double check. I haven't read the latest myself yet either. I'm going to. Anybody ready yet? And if so, have any questions for Sam, since he happens to be here? If not, totally fine, of course.
I will just add, for some context, like this came in as a last minute request from David right before the Thanksgiving break in the US. So it was like 2 weeks ago, and we had just a couple days to pull all of this together. So if it hasn't been reviewed with you previously, that's probably why, is because we were scrambling to compile that content.
Yeah, no worries. Async for the win, right? But and we'll review, and if we have any feedback, we'll learn from it. And if we have any feedback or questions, we'll pass it on to you and your counterpart, Sarah, Sam. So cool.
Just one quick,
and your
since you're here, Sam, if we look at that roadmap from Q1 through to Q4, do we expect to see those items listed in our priorities YAML files at this stage, or how far out would you like to go in terms of those existing priorities that we have?
I think ideally the priorities YAML file would be around a year out. So yeah, ideally all of these would be there in that file. I'm almost certain that for several of the groups, they don't go that far out today. And again, this was sort of like a last minute thing, but I think that would be a good goal to work towards, is to having a full 12 months in those priority files.
Oh, so we can collaborate with PMs, EMs and PMs can collaborate on that, identify the gaps and look to have them added, epics added. Cool.
Yeah, that would be great.
Idil, you have a question?
Yeah, so I guess turning these into a 1-year roadmap, which is excellent. That means we'll have some sort of, I guess, firmness baked into it to say we're not going to change these priorities, and also sizing them, or at least t-shirt sizing them in some way to say whether all of this is containable along with other things the teams are working on. Has that exercise been done? I guess I'm trying to understand how firm are we on this roadmap, or should we do that due diligence before this goes into priorities.yaml?
Yeah, I would say that we always are very careful to publish any roadmap items with our legal disclaimer that the timing is subject to change. And so, especially things that are further out, like 12 months out, you probably do not need to put a huge amount, if any, effort into sizing them, because 12 months out, probably things are going to change by the time we get to that point. And if you spend a ton of time sizing it right now, that's probably not the best use of time. So I would just be judicious there and maybe try to have things more accurately sized as it's more closer to now. And then as things are further out in the roadmap, worry about it a little bit less. But we retain the flexibility from a legal perspective to move those around as much as we want to do to the legal disclaimer that we always include.
Make sense?
Oh, looks like there's some other questions too from Thomas and Nate.
I have two, but that looks like Sam's answering already. So we've got this for a roadmap, which is great. We also have DevSecOps adoption product priorities, which we've been using kind of as a North Star, at least within Secure. So are these aligned, or are we looking at altering? Like, would this help alter how we view DSO adoption priorities?
Yeah, I would say they're loosely aligned, but we set our priorities independently. Like the adoption priorities are an input into our broader priorities. Adoption priorities are focused specifically on things that we've identified as blocking adoption of GitLab.com, and especially with existing customers that are blocking adoption of ultimate features on, within that customer base. So that excludes a lot of things. That excludes things like net new functionality. Like, for example, Nate's team just released the compliance adherence report, and that wasn't necessarily something that was blocking adoption of Ultimate by existing customers, but it still was super valuable. And it's a reason that we're seeing customers start to show an interest in signing up for GitLab.com. So it's helping our new logo wins. So there's a lot to consider beyond just adoption blockers, I guess, in terms of our overall priorities.
Yeah, so are there plans? I noticed that working groups aren't included in this, and I guess specifically the software supply chain security working group, which has a semi-defined roadmap.
At least for now, no. That could change in the future, but right now I think we're focused just on the existing groups. And there probably are a few reasons for that. I mean, among other reasons, the primary audience of these roadmap slides is the GitLab board of directors. And so when you start to include all of the various working groups, that can start to be overwhelming. Again, maybe that will change in the future, but we'll see.
Last question for me on this, I promise. So historically, we've always looked at roadmaps at a stage level. However, within SEC, we're not organized by workflow. We're organized topically, and we have workflows that cross freely back and forth between secure and govern. Has there been any progress towards a section-wide roadmap? Loaded question, I know, but I'm curious.
So, I mean, practically speaking, the roadmaps are really more at the group level, even than the stage level. I would say that that's where I view roadmaps is at the group level, because that's an autonomous engineering team. And so, at least on my end, if I were to create a section-wide roadmap, it would really just be the compilation of all of the group level roadmaps. What value would you want to get out of a section-wide roadmap?
Bringing the right collection of groups together at the right time. Example from recent past, continuous vulnerability scanning having tremendous impacts in data flow into vulnerability management and threat insights, namely taking away the assumption that vulnerabilities need to be tied to a pipeline.
Okay, so you're looking for
yeah.
coordination and collaboration across the groups.
Yeah. Because because we could surface which groups should be involved early enough in order to bring the right people together to deliver. And that's my why.
Yeah, I do see value in that. I think that would be helpful. I think even just starting with this slide deck that we've got, right, helps us to start to see what's currently planned for each of the groups across the different quarters. And then I think it's really up to you, Phil, myself, and Sarah to review that and see where those collaboration points need to happen.
So definitely a great discussion on this. I want to actually cut us off here, and we can go async or other discussions to continue. It's been great discussion. I do want to get to the other topics too, but I'm glad we started the discussion here. More to come. So I'm glad I put it in the agenda for today, so we could at least get them started for awareness, etc. So number 4 is mine as well. For an effective development escalation process, we need all participant engineers to set their notification settings in Slack to match their working hours. So please, for both the EMs here and the EMs not here, Thomas and Phil, please make them aware. Please ask your team members, both backend and full stack, to know about the Slack setting. There's a little more detail later. What happens if this is not set right is Pager Slack notifies people, hey, can you join this incident when they're not actually online, if their Slack status is not accurate. So then it delays the escalations. So that's what this is about. And they also get, pinged a bit as well. They get pinged when they're not working, and the escalations get delayed. So not asking anybody to do anything other than that, of get their Slack configuration right. Adil, you have a question?
Not a question, just if I know someone expressed like, hey, this might be interrupted to like focused implementation time, etc. And I address that by sharing that you can selectively enable notifications for escalation channel or a mention, and that way you don't need to turn Slack notifications for everything except for this specific thing that it's part of your role and responsibilities.
Good to know. Maybe you might want to post it in that Slack thread, Adil, so others know too. That'd be great.
Yep.
Here's some read-only items, and I'm going to stop the live feed so we can discuss something that's not public, but everybody's